Hi, my name is Logan Connors. I'm a professor of modern languages and literatures at the University of Miami. And so what I'm going to do is answer a few questions about the Statue of Liberty, its origins, its meaning at the time. Why did the French decide to make this gift of the Statue of Liberty? Supposedly the idea was born in a conversation between the sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi and Édouard René de La Boulaye, a prominent French historian and politician during the 19th century. La Boulaye was also the leader of the French Anti-Slavery Society, and supposedly in this conversation with Bartholdi, the idea was to create something to celebrate in 1865 the end of the American Civil War, and particularly the freeing of black slaves on American soil. They had an idea to combine this celebration of freedom, patriotism, transatlantic diplomacy. Bartholdi was very well known at the time for his large-scale sculptures in Clermont-Ferrand, in Colmar, in other places throughout France, and he thought it would be very fitting for this occasion to build such a sculpture for the United States. Bartholdi completed a model of the statue in 1870, but war broke out, this time in Europe, and Bartholdi was called to the front to serve as a major in the Franco-Prussian War. After the war, Bartholdi got back to work, and he built the structure in parts, first an arm, then the torch, then other parts. The goal was to complete the work for the celebration of the centennial of the Declaration of Independence in 1876. However, it was a very expensive project, and it took time. Money was raised from all different sorts of people in France, municipalities, small sums, large sums, and it was really completed with the help of Gustave Eiffel and his metalworks towards the end of the 1870s into the 1880s. The finalized work was shipped over in piecemeal in 1885, and 200,000 New Yorkers were there in the New York harbor to greet the pieces of Lady Liberty when she arrived by ship. However, she still had to be built. The pedestal on Bedloe's Island still needed to be constructed. All of this needed to be financed. But finally, eventually, on October 28th, 1886, the Statue of Liberty was unveiled in a massive celebration, overseen by the president at the time, Grover Cleveland, who was the former governor of New York. It took 20 years, at least 20 years, from its inception to its completion. What started as a project very much linked to the Civil War, to the emancipation of slaves, and to Franco-American friendship had expanded into other realms of meaning by the end of the 19th century, as one of the first things that ship passengers see as they arrive in New York Harbor. The Statue of Liberty now is forever associated with a wave of immigration, particularly European immigration, at the end of the 19th century. This new symbolism, Lady Liberty as a symbol of immigration, as a symbol for new immigrants, is reified in Emma Lazarus's poem, The New Colossus, which she wrote to help raise money for the statue in 1883, and which was cast onto a bronze plaque and placed inside the pedestal's lower level in 1903. On that plaque, to this day, is one of the most famous, most recited lines in the history of American poetry. That is, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." Context of the 19th century, what did the word liberty mean, and what does it mean today? The original name in French of the Statue of Liberty is, of course, La Liberté éclairant le monde. The word liberty in the 19th century was by no means monolithic. There were multiple meanings, but it's very much associated with two precise historical events which really put concepts like liberty and freedom to the test. The first, the 1789 revolution in France, the French Revolution, as well as a series of political conflicts between monarchists and defenders of a republic, of a democracy, in the 19th century. The second major event was, of course, this time in the United States, Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1862, the Civil War, the granting, the fighting for freedom of black slaves on American soil. These momentous occasions guided the words and actions of those people who were responsible for the Statue of Liberty. Today, the term liberty seems more difficult to pin down. It's discussed in every domain imaginable. It's claimed and reclaimed by sometimes very divergent political platforms. It can very much still mean being in a state of living without oppression, liberty. However, liberty can also take the form of being able to do anything one wants, sometimes without tremendous consequences or concern of the consequences of that action. Liberty, like so many core principles, is a highly contested term, and perhaps more so today than back in the 19th century.